Welcome back to Celebrity Radio. It's Alex Belfield talking to some of my favourite people and some of the world's biggest stars. And we've got one for you today, a lady I was lucky enough to work with at Christmas, Rebecca Newman. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
You are delicious, firstly. That's the thing about you. And you have this voice of an angel. I mean, you've got it all. Congratulations.
Well, thank you very much. That's quite flattering.
Is it fun being you? Because there you are, this lady who sings these beautiful classical numbers, and then Russell Watson phones and says, come on tour with me, and then you're travelling around the world. It's a great life.
Yeah, I mean, it took a bit longer than that, because the first time I worked with Russell was in September 2013, and I kept in touch with him and his management after that. And last September, when I got the #1 classical album, that definitely opened a lot more doors for me. And this time, finally, they said, yep, come on tour with us.
And I don't blame them, because let's face it, this type of music has never been more popular, thanks to people like Alfie and, of course, Russell, and probably Andrea Bocelli as well was one of the first to make this accessible. And that's what you're doing. You're sort of bringing these arias to the people and making them sort of everybody's.
Absolutely. And I think the great thing about being a crossover artist is that you can sing both operatic arias for a mainstream audience, and then you can sing maybe something by Eva Cassidy or Adele or Leona Lewis, and within the show itself you provide the variety. And of course, variety entertainment used to be so popular. You'd have a magician, you'd have a singer, you'd have an opera singer, you'd have a dancer, and within one show, if you can swap between different styles, it stops people feeling like they have to only listen to opera all night or going to see a pop singer. They get the best of both worlds, and rather than trying to necessarily cross over within one song, I think it's about trying to have a program which goes between different genres, and people seem to really take well to that.
And what's amazing, when you stand in front of that orchestra, you come into your own. I can't imagine there's any better feeling for someone like you to hear that live strings and the live atmosphere, and of course the crowd who hopefully are going to applaud at the end. Absolutely,
and there's an energy you get with live musicians that of course you don't get with just maybe even one musician, or if you've got pre-recorded backing music. When you've got a live setup like we've got a piano, we've got 4 strings, and we've got a guitarist. And the guitarist has got about 5 different guitars around him, including a mandolin. They're incredibly talented, and the sound that they make, just those sort of 6 players, is phenomenal. And sometimes I've actually been stood in front of them, particularly when we do the prayer together. Russell and I sing the prayer as a duet, and I'm on stage on my own to begin with, and I'm stood just in front of the cellist. And I often almost forget to come in, because the sound the cellist is making is just so beautiful. I'm just going off into my own little world listening to this lovely music, but they're so talented.
And what's amazing about you, you're one of those people who walk on stage and you go, okay, then what's so special about you? And you open your mouth and then this thing happens. I guess you've never known a different life, have you? Because this is all you've ever done. I mean, you've always been a singer.
Yeah, I mean, when I was 19, I was very much in the mindset of I wanted to go into opera. I wanted to be in the West End when I was a teenager. It wasn't until I was about 13 that I discovered singing, that I got into it, and no one in my family even played an instrument. No one knew what to do with me at all. I was singing along to Sarah Brightman on Phantom of the Opera. And when I was 19, I finally decided that opera was where I should go. And I took a bit of time off after my A-levels, got myself a job, and decided that was it. It was a childhood dream. So I worked for 5 years. So it wasn't until I went to university at the age of 24. I went to university to have a complete change of career. I actually wanted to go into international development and poverty reduction. And I wanted to do something that I felt there was a human element at the end of it, because just making shareholders rich, not seeing the fruits of your labours, I wasn't happy. And then within a week I was teaching singing, and then I started busking, I started putting myself out there for weddings, and that was over 10 years ago now. So that's really, it was almost like music found me again, and I managed to find ways of making money from it. So while I was at university, it was almost like a bit of a test. I still had my student loans coming in, and I just decided to give it a go. Once I graduated in 2007, I went full-time with my singing, and that was it, really. The busking was definitely a really big part of it, because that gave me the freedom and the flexibility to do things I wanted to do that maybe didn't pay as well, or things like recording my own albums. I could make money to reinvest into my career by going out and street performing. And the street performing grew from, it started out as just me with a hat at my feet in the city centre in York. And then before I knew it, within sort of a couple of years, I had a PA system, I had a gazebo, banners, a trolley where I could trolley it from the car park into the town centre. And it really looked like people would come along and say, isn't it nice that the council put events on like this? It looked like an official event. And that professional veneer that it had made such a difference to people then wanted to come buy CDs and get it signed. And accidentally, I managed to generate a bit of a fan base by doing it.
Do you need planning permission for a gazebo?
Some places, yeah. Some places it can be very, very complicated to have a gazebo.
First world problems, hey? And then you pick up the phone one day and it's people like Songs of Praise who say, will you come and sing for us? I guess they're the moments where you pinch yourself and go, I have made it, because they're the moments everybody dreams of.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think you can ever be complacent enough to say, oh, I've made it. I think everybody, and the more I've worked with big names in the industry as well, I see that everyone is looking over their shoulder. And I think that's a good thing, because you can never allow yourself to get stale. You always have to be trying to improve, trying to adapt, trying to come up with something new and fresh. Otherwise, you get bored and your audience gets bored. But there have been moments where I think if they had happened 2 years ago, then I would have had to pinch myself. But I think because everything has happened in such small increments, people see from the outside, they see things happen and they go, oh wow, what a great break. But they don't realise that might have actually taken the equivalent of 400 hours of work to make that happen. There's actually a lot of groundwork that you have to put in, because nobody's going to come along and just give it to you on a plate. You actually have to really, really work for it. So I think when you've put that work in, I think it feels like less of a surprise. And then as you're going through, it's almost like you get used to what you've managed to do, and now you're looking for the next goal.
And I always say that you've got to be careful with that. When you're exceptionally talented, that you could just always be at this point where you're never quite satisfied. I mean, do you accept at this point you're an amazing singer, or do you just see yourself as a good singer? How do you view yourself?
I see myself as a bit of a blagger, to be honest. I'm waiting to be found out. People tell me that I've got a voice that they really love and it moves them to tears or it makes them feel fantastic. But I just see voices as being very, very individual things, and there are thousands upon thousands of talented people out there. I've met so many people in my life that are talented, and plenty of them that I would say are much more talented than me, and it just makes you appreciate that a lot of it is about work, the hard work that you put in and the luck. And I don't think you can ever look at yourself in that way. I think if you did, I think you'd probably become quite conceited and not a very nice person. But yeah, I just do the best that I can, and I try to be me. There were many years when I tried to be the next whatever, or trying to be like people in the industry that were doing a similar kind of thing, and it made me unhappy because it wasn't me. So I like who I am now, and I have amazing fans around me, people that really, really get me as a person as well as just as an artist, and that's kind of where I want to be, especially with the songwriting. I can put more of myself out there than just singing songs that other people have written.
And again, I think the more talented you are, the more disciplined you have to be. And then I wonder your schedule. I mean, you're wasting your time talking to me right now. This is putting a strain on your voice. Should you really be quiet at this point an hour before you go on stage?
I'm okay for now. I wouldn't be shouting. I wouldn't be barking orders at anybody or anything like that. I think as long as I'm fairly relaxed and calm about it, as long as I'm not using my voice too strenuously, I've got a bit of time before I have to go and get ready in my dressing room. I'm on the second half as well with the tour tonight, so that means it gives me enough time to get out front and meet people as they're coming into the building and actually get the chance to sign some programs and get to know people a little bit. So then when I go on stage and they see the transformation, where they've seen me in my ordinary clothes out the front looking like everybody else, and then they see you on stage all dolled up to the nines, I think it almost makes people feel much more connected to you, like, oh, well, if she can scrub up like that, maybe I can scrub up like that. So I think, it definitely gives you a connection with the audience, and because I'm not onto the second half, once the show starts, I can switch on the intercom in my room, I can listen to Russell singing away and just get myself ready during that time.
And again, when we last worked together, we were in Wakefield, and it was, I think, a Saturday night. The Friday you'd flown in from New York. Do you worry about tiredness? What's the biggest thing in your day you have to be careful of so that you can do a performance?
Well, we did a very silly thing in that we got ourselves a puppy in January. 29th of January is my husband's birthday, and we went and bought him a Labrador puppy. And I came back to find an email from Russell's manager saying, "Oh, I forgot to call you today. I was busy. I'll call you tomorrow." And I thought, that's not a no, you can't come on the tour with us. And we now have an 8-week-old puppy. And we had a month to get the puppy as calm and well-travelled as we possibly could. And so he's been growing through the tour. But that means that from very early on in the tour, he wanted to be getting up at the crack of dawn. And we'd got in maybe at sort of 2-3 in the morning from the concert, so he didn't care about that because he'd been asleep in the boot, been quite happy. So that's definitely been challenging, because one of the biggest things for your voice is to make sure that you've had enough sleep, enough water, enough sleep, and rested sleep as well, not tossing and turning and not relaxing. So you have to look after yourself, you really do. And I can see why some people burn out on tours, because it is grueling, it really is.
He is the UK's leading classical singer right now, selling more tickets than anyone else, and it's a huge tour. You must have been thrilled.
Absolutely. It was the first time that was probably not a pinch myself moment, but it was one of those, somebody's given me a break, because I've never been given a break, actually. The number one album, it was a case of calculating what we needed to do and going out there and doing it. And there was an element of luck involved as well. But other than that, the money for the album was raised through my fan base. It wasn't like I got signed to a label or signed to an agent or a manager. So no one had really ever given me a break before. So this is the first time I've ever felt like somebody's gone, "Here you are. This is a break for you." So amazing.
You've mentioned the word luck a couple of times in this interview. I don't believe in it. I think if you've got talent, you'll succeed. I'm not sure luck will get you very far. It might get you the first one, but it'll sack you after the first show. That won't get you through the tour, will it? You've got to have that fundamental talent, which you have in buckets. What do you do next then? Because, this comes to an end shortly, and then I suppose the next year is even more exciting, is the momentum from the back of this.
Yeah, absolutely. The album came out last September, so getting that number one right before we went into the Christmas period, where every Tom, Dick and Harry was bringing out an album and wanted to get into the papers and onto TV. So we sort of backed off a little bit. I had my first Songs of Praise performance and looked at where we were going to go next. And then January, we obviously announced about the Russell tour. So that gave us a little bit of time to go out, get in front of people that maybe hadn't heard of me before, get some new fans. And in July, I've got a few headline dates of my own. And then we've got a big Christmas community project planned, which that won't be unveiled for a little while yet. And I have to be very careful what I say about it, because it's an idea that I'm really, really excited about. I've just become patron of a charity in the West Midlands called Socks and Chocks. And we're looking to sort of help that raise its profile nationally. And the event that we're doing, the project that we're doing, will incorporate the whole of the UK, and it really puts people at the centre of what I'm going to be doing. So that takes us up to Christmas, and then next spring I'll be releasing my next album and going on a UK tour. So that will all be very, very exciting.
You're brilliantly talented, and I wish you all the best. It's great to talk to you. If they want to find out more, your website?
Website is RebeccaNewman.co.uk. I've also got a Facebook page, which is just Rebecca Newman Soprano. But I've also got a Facebook group, and actually the group, because it's more of a discussion space, we have all the gossip goes in there first, and people help me come up with ideas for what colour dress I should wear, where I should go on concerts, what songs I should sing. And that's just facebook.com/groups/Rebecca Newman. And you can search for it on Facebook and find it.
Rebecca, great to talk to you. Thank you so much, and good luck tonight. Looking forward to seeing the show, and a great future ahead. You're phenomenally talented. Congratulations.
Thank you for having me.